The name Ferrari may be synonymous with Formula One, but the Maranello-based team is far from what it used to be. 2022 hasn't been an easy season for them, even though they have two of the biggest talents on the grid right now, namely Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. They're determined not to lose hope, and in today's video we're looking at the season so far and where they think it's going from here. First off, here's where Ferrari is at this year. The season started with a bang for the Scuderia. Charles Leclerc, the Monegasque that signed a multi-year contract with the team, was in full fighting form as he started off the season with an incredible win in Bahrain. The new technical regulations may have been a setback for some teams, but both Ferrari and their stiffest competitors Red Bull benefited from the new rules. Leclerc went on to outperform at every single race, winning 2 other Grand Prix and sharing 8 pole positions with Sainz. Bahrain was the biggest sign that 2022 was going to be the Scuderia's season, as the two finished with an insane 1-2, giving fans hope that they'd bring home a world title for the first time since 2008, when Kimi Räikkönen dominated the grid. In every way possible, 2022 was the year Ferrari got its confidence back, with Mattia Binotto leading 2 world-class drivers in the cockpit and racing director Laurent Mekies taking care of everything else. The title didn't seem far off. Leclerc had a 46-point lead on his competitors, including giants like Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, which seemed unheard of. But sadly, this wasn't going to last. Almost immediately into the first half of the season, the team seemed to have been cursed, with technical and strategic screw-ups leaving them in the dust behind the other teams. Now, let's look at how exactly they messed up. So, how did things go so wrong? Why did Charles Leclerc find himself over 100 points behind Verstappen when he started 4 places ahead of him? Is the F175 just not a competitive car? Are the race engines the ones at fault? We're answering all that and more today. Sadly, it seems like everything just comes down to terrible luck for Maranello. In Monaco, which was Leclerc's home race, he started on pole, blazing through the track on Saturday. Sunday saw wet conditions, and he was called in for a pit stop at the worst possible time, even though he could have gone much longer on the wet tires. During his second stop, he was brought out at the same time as his teammate Sainz, which turned his first place into 4th. Another iconic race, Silverstone saw Sainz at his best, pitting at the right time for soft tires, and beating his teammate dragging his hards along, eventually winning first place. It was a huge win for Ferrari, but they lost the chance of a 1-2, which would have been way better. It seems the new car, the F175, isn't the most reliable either. In Spain, Leclerc found himself in the lead again, before having to retire because of a power unit failure. It seems the team just isn't what it used to be under Jean Todt. Sainz got the short end of the stick with the car too, with a delayed out lap and steering wheel issues in Australia, a last place finish in Azerbaijan, and a life-threatening fire in Austria. Lastly, the drivers aren't perfect either, since we all remember the crash that sent Leclerc into the wall in France. Moving on, Carlos hasn't lost hope. It's pretty clear at this point that Ferrari said goodbye to its chances at a championship. The blunders are never ending, and the strong lead they started with has gone out the window just as fast. But Carlos Sainz is determined not to let anything get him down. Ahead of the race at Zandvoort, he seemed hopeful that the team could get its lead back, thinking that there was still potential. The weekend before at Spa, reigning champion Max Verstappen had turned a 14th place start into a win by more than 20 seconds, giving Red Bull a 1-2 victory with Sergio Perez in 2nd place. Sainz was 3rd, which probably gave him the hope he needed to make it through. Sainz said in a statement from Ferrari that Zandvoort had different characteristics from the iconic Spa of Francorchamps, and that their car had a much better chance of winning, or at least putting themselves back into the running with a fighting chance. He reminded the press and the Tifosi that for the 14 races in the season, they had been driving competitively for all but one of them. He had expected to see that come back in the Netherlands. He also had a pretty good idea of how the team is perceived. The Spaniard admitted that being at Ferrari comes with much higher expectations than being at any other team, even though he's driven for big names like Renault and McLaren before. After all, it's the most titled team in the history of the sport, so when things are bad, they are really bad. Carlos does believe that the pit wall engineers aren't making that many mistakes, but just because the team is so much more famous, they seem like a much bigger deal. He finished by pointing out that things had improved a lot for the team since the previous year, and he was right about it, since the 2020 slump had spelled disaster for the Scuderia, and things have only looked up since. Now for what really happened at Zandvoort. The Dutch Grand Prix just happens to be the home race for the current champion Max Verstappen, and his fans were out in full force with their orange flares in the crowd. But also, all eyes were on the red cars, expecting them to make a strong comeback in the race. Naturally, the hope didn't last too long. Lap 15 saw the crew telling Sainz to pit, and in one of the most meme-worthy situations of the season, the mighty Scuderia Ferrari pit crew forgot to bring out one of 4 tires. To make matters worse, one of the mechanics even left out his wheel gun, which was a terrible surprise to Sergio Perez as he ran over it. The absolute best the team was able to do was a 3rd place finish for Leclerc, and the race gave fans everywhere a good laugh, even if it was through tears for Ferrari fans. In fact, ex-champion Nico Rosberg even said that Formula 2 and 3 management was better than certain teams in F1. The race was also pretty bad for another big name in the sport, Lewis Hamilton, who found himself on the receiving end of a terrible strategy call from Mercedes, which pushed him back in the race, lost him the podium, and ended in him swearing at the team over how badly they messed him up. At this point in the season, Verstappen stands 109 points ahead of Leclerc, and Ferrari is well ahead of their 2020 sixth-place finish in the Constructors' Championships. While Max may be ready to take his second consecutive world title, it's not over till it's over. The weekend after Zandvoort is none other than Monza, which, apart from being Ferrari's home race, also promises to be one of the most exciting ones of the entire year, and we're sure that Tifosi will have the time of their lives no matter what happens. Moving on to what else is new in motorsport. First up, the Scuderia is losing Schumacher again. It's no secret that one of the most iconic and successful Ferrari drivers was 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher. After the terrifying accident that left him in a coma and paralyzed, his son Mick found his way into the sport, currently driving for the American outfit Haas. But the younger Schumacher also had a place in the Ferrari Driver Academy, which is now coming to what the team is calling a natural end. It's not the first time a Schumacher has left Ferrari, and we're hoping that one day, like his dad, Mick will find his way into a coveted Maranello seat as well. While there's no official confirmation, Mick's contract with Haas is also up, and the favorite to take his seat is Antonio Giovinazzi. It's most likely that Mick will find himself at Alpine or Williams next year. Next, Red Bull has every right to their confidence. While Red Bull Racing hasn't won both the Constructors and Drivers' title since 2013, it seems that 2022 will be their best shot yet, with the force that is Verstappen leading them. Along with the fastest car in the grid, it looks like they've got it in the bag. In fact, team boss Christian Horner said they'd have to try hard to lose the titles at this point. After all, even if Leclerc wins all 7 races, Max only needs 4 second places to seal the deal. Finally, we can look forward to this circuit next year. The 2023 calendar is now set to be the largest in Formula 1 history, as the finalized schedule for next year sees the introduction of the Las Vegas and China Grand Prix. The season will have 24 races across 8 months, the longest in F1 history, along with changed dates for Barcelona, Spa, Baku, and Imola. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think will happen at Spa? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.